Good morning and welcome to Caribbean News. That's Caribbean and Latin American news now. And today we are going to look at some top stories coming out of the Caribbean and Latin America. This is the best channel or the best source of Caribbean stories and also news coming out of Latin America. Now let's begin with news coming out of Kingston, Jamaica. The Jamaican government is asking for patience amid the unease surrounding the Stocks and Securities Limited SSL fraud case, which impacted the accounts of more than 200 clients, including track legend Usain Bolt. The appeal follows a Gleaner story on Thursday, which opened the frustration of the eight-time Olympic champion, whose account was defrauded of US $12.7 billion. The development has caused sustained outrage. That is news. Now, another news coming out of Kingston, Jamaica, is the Education and Transformation Oversight Committee is reporting that work has commenced on 136 recommendations targeted for implementation in the Jamaica Education Transformation Commission, that's the JETC report. Chairman Dr. Adrian Stokes made the disclosure while addressing Thursday's ETOC press conference held at the University of the West Indies, the UWI regional headquarters in St. Andrew. He said that 7 of the 136 initiatives have been finalized and 129 are in progress. Of the 129 initiatives currently underway, 128 of them are on track and one initiative is lagging. Overall, ETOC sees this as good progress being made with implementation, he said. Now, news coming out of Trinidad and Tobago, that's the twin island of Trinidad and Tobago. Over 30 Caribbean Airlines pilots, represented by the TT Airline Pilots Association, TALPA, protested at the Piarco International Airport on October 3 against overdue wage negotiations. They said that they had been working on expired contracts for the past 9 years and were being paid less than non-national pilots. They also said they had no job security and had been offered a 20% salary cut. The union noted that all the pilots present rather, were off duty, so no flights were affected. Caribbean Airlines, in a release, said it was disappointed by the unexpected and disappointing action. It said agreements had been reached on several key matters, and the pilots had received their annual increment of up to 3%. The airline confirmed that all flights and operations continued as scheduled. Now, let's go over to a report coming out of New York about Caribbean affairs, Caribbean matters. New York Attorney General Leticia James is leading a coalition of 12 attorneys general calling on the United States Congress to take action to stop gun trafficking from the United States to Caribbean countries. In their letter, the attorneys general say gun trafficking from the United States has contributed to gun violence in Caribbean countries, where many New Yorkers and Americans have families. The coalition outlines a number of measures the U.S. Congress can take to help reduce gun trafficking into the Caribbean, including ensuring inspectors at ports have enough resources to make inspections and passing the Caribbean Arms Trafficking Causes Harm, that's CATCH Act. James said the CATCH Act would provide state and federal governments with more information about gun trafficking into the Caribbean and to determine which anti-gun trafficking methods are working to reduce gun violence. Now, let's go over to news coming out of Haiti. Now, that is the French-speaking island. The United Nations Human Rights Office, OHCHR, Friday said that there are more than 3,500 people who have been killed in Haiti since the start of this year, reiterating that tackling insecurity in the French-speaking Caribbean community, CARICOM country, must be a priority. In a new report on Haiti, where hundreds have been killed, injured, or displaced as a result of gang violence, the OHCHR called on the Haitian authorities and the international community to do more to protect people and prevent further suffering. Latest figures documented by the UN Human Rights Office indicate that at least 3,661 people have been killed since January this year, maintaining the high levels of violence seen in 2023. Now, let's go over now to news, and this is coming over from Guyana. Exxon's profits and Guyanese poverty. Recently, ExxonMobil Guyana Limited, that's the EMGL, with a 45% interest in the rich Stabroek block in its financial statements, reported after tax profit of $615 billion, I would think Guyanese dollars, or approximately US $3 billion. Hess Guyana Exploration Limited holds 30% interest, and CNOOC Petroleum Guyana Limited holds 25%. This means that the three partners together walked away with approximately $1.4 trillion or 6.5 billion US dollars in 2023. Now let's go to news coming out of Venezuela, a Latin American country. Now, an independent group of election experts that observed Venezuela's July presidential election on Wednesday legitimized the vote tally sheets the opposition has offered as proof of President Nicolas Maduro's defeat, telling the Organization of American States the electronic balloting system worked and the ruling party as well as other stakeholders know the truth. The assertions from an expert with the US-based Carter Center came during a session convened by members of the regional body to address the dispute that emerged from Venezuela's presidential election. The group was one of the two independent panels that the government invited to observe the vote on July 28, which electoral authorities claimed, without offering any proof, favored Maduro. The dispute has centered on thousands of tally sheets known as actas, printouts that resemble shopping receipts that have long been considered the ultimate proof of election results in Venezuela. Each of the 30,000 electronic voting machines used in the July 28 election printed several copies of the sheets, which representatives of participating parties have a right to obtain when the information is transmitted to the National Electoral Council. Now we go over to news coming from the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic will deport up to 10,000 Haitians a week, citing an excess of immigrants. The Dominican Republic announced Wednesday that it would start massive deportations of Haitians living illegally in the country, expelling up to 10,000 of them a week. Government spokesman Homero Figueroa told reporters that the government took the decision after noticing an excess of Haitian migrants in the Dominican Republic, which shares the island of Hispaniola with Haiti. Figueroa said officials have seen an increase in Haitian migrants as a UN-backed mission in Haiti to fight gang violence flounders. He said authorities also agreed to strengthen border surveillance and control, but he did not provide details. Last year, the Dominican Republic reported more than 174,000 people, it says, are Haitians, and the first half of the year, it has expelled at least 67,000 more. Activists have long criticized the administration of President Luis Abinader for what they say are ongoing human rights violations of Haitians and those of Haitian descent born in the Dominican Republic. Abinader has denied any mistreatment. Now, to end the news story coming from the Caribbean and Latin American news now, let's go over to Curacao. Curacao remains a EU's grey list for the tax non-cooperation. Curaçao is still on the European Union's grey list of countries that do not fully cooperate on tax matters, according to a confirmation from the Minister of Finance. Despite ongoing efforts by the island to meet the standards set by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, Curaçao will remain on the list for the time being. A key assessment of its legal framework for the automatic exchange of financial information will not be published until November 2024. The European Union placed Curaçao on the grey list due to identified deficiencies in the system for the automatic exchange of financial information. These shortcomings were highlighted by the Global Forum, a body within the OECD responsible for monitoring international tax transparency. The EU reviews the list every 6 months, and Curaçao is expected to stay on the grey list until at least February 2025. Finance Minister Javier Silvania has reiterated that Curaçao is committed at the highest political level to addressing these deficiencies by the end of the year. The EU's Code of Conduct Group evaluates third countries on tax transparency, harmful tax practices, and anti-tax avoidance measures. Nations that fail to meet these standards are placed on either the black or gray list. Curaçao has expressed its determination to quickly comply with these standards and is working closely with international partners to implement the necessary reforms. Thank you so much for joining this morning. I hope that you will have a fantastic day and join me once more tomorrow for another special report of news, the latest news, the best source of news coming out of Latin America and the Caribbean. Have yourselves a wonderful day.